Some 65 million years ago, the mammals were still obliged to live in secrecy, still trying to stay hidden from the giant reptiles which had ruled the world for the previous 150 million years. But that reign was to come abruptly to a close.
When you go to the end of the Cretaceous to see the rocks deposited then, there's very easy to recognize evidence that an enormous catastrophe was caused by this asteroid impact. We see the result of tidal waves. We find material falling from the sky. We even find minerals that we don't find on Earth, such as iridium.
The dinosaurs were wiped out. The mammals survived. Now we stand and wonder at the bones of these giant lizards, which were the dominant species for so long. The world was now for the taking. Mammals were able to move into every niche, but it was one group that lived in the trees that began a new line in the evolutionary path. This fossil dates to about 9 million years after the dinosaurs had gone. It's called Carpolestes. There is a feature of this skeleton which is intriguing. On one of its limbs there are fingers, and one of them bends toward the palm. This is what primates have today. From this fossil, we can try to reconstruct its world. Like many mammals, it was probably nocturnal. More than likely, it spent most of the time in the trees. It was safer there than on the forest floor. Its diet may have been fruit and berries, but Carpolestes' lifestyle had hardly changed since the time of dinosaurs. There were still ferocious predators on the prowl. This fossil gives the clue. The creature which made this footprint was a contemporary of Carpolestes. They belong to a bird, a giant bird called Diatryma, almost 2 meters, 7 feet tall, possibly the largest animal on land. Once the dinosaurs had gone, birds like this seized dominance. Dr. Lawrence Whitmar is a dinosaur expert at Ohio University. He has been studying the ecology of these giants for the last 15 years. He is fascinated by the skull.
Well, when I first saw the skull of Diatryma, the first thing that I was struck by was its size. It's absolutely huge. This comes from a bird, but it's larger than any known bird skull that's living today. It's potentially larger than what we see in a lion or a bear, but it's organized differently. What this animal used this unusual skull for.
From the CT scans of the bird's skull, he detected large cavities on the inside of the cranium. He thinks this is where the muscles to move the beak were supported. From their size, he is certain that the beak was very tough, capable of stripping flesh from prey animals, as lions do today. Its skull was very large in proportion to the size of its body. Obviously, it was a ferocious predator.
We know that Diatryma, just like the Tyrannosaurs, had a very powerful bite that was well adapted for not just killing but also removing the flesh from the bones. So in a sense, what we see here with Diatryma, and I would imagine that the animals of its day viewed it in much the same way, was Diatryma was in many respects sort of a mini T-Rex.
This reconstruction is based on the evidence gathered from the fossils. There were 4 species of this giant bird. They lived in forests and grasslands, but because of their weight, they were flightless. They could probably run as fast as humans today. But at this time, mammals were still mostly small and weren't able to move swiftly. The ancestor of the modern horse would not have stood a chance. Once dead, the flesh would have been ripped from the body by the giant and powerful beak. Little wonder that many of the small mammals still kept to the trees. These giant birds ruled from Europe to North America. They were also on other continents in the southern hemisphere. Everywhere except Asia. Here there are no fossil birds, only mammals.